If a doorbell camera could talk, mine would probably ask me why I didn't listen sooner. That's how it started, the line that keeps echoing in my head every time I pull into my driveway. Before you go any further, do me a favor. Hit like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment if you've ever trusted someone so completely that the truth nearly broke you. Now, let's begin. My name's Logan Pierce, 34 years old, home security technician out of North Carolina. Funny thing about working with cameras, you learn how to keep people safe, but you never expect those same lenses to turn on you. When I installed the new doorbell cam outside my own home, it wasn't because I suspected anything. It was habit, occupational reflex. Ava, my wife, laughed when I mounted it. "Logan, who's gonna steal from us in this neighborhood?" she said, leaning on the porch railing, sunlight sliding over her gold bracelet. I grinned back, kissed her on the cheek, told her it was just to keep packages safe. If only I'd known how right I was about packages. That was 3 months ago. At first, everything looked normal. Daily deliveries, neighbors walking their dogs, the humdrum background of suburban life. But somewhere along the line, little things started to flicker wrong, barely noticeable, like a glitch in an otherwise perfect feed. Ava's phone face down more often. Packages arriving when I wasn't expecting anything. Her laughter, lighter, higher, the kind she used to reserve for private jokes between us. I told myself I was imagining it. Everyone gets comfortable, marriages change rhythm. That's what I thought, until one Thursday afternoon when my phone pinged with a motion alert. I was still at the office, buried in a tangle of wires, when the notification popped up. Front door activity detected, 3:42 p.m. Usually I'd swipe it away. That day, I don't know why I opened the live feed. Habit, maybe? Or instinct whispering that something had finally snapped. The frame came alive on my screen. A delivery van parked at the curb, plain white, logo faded. The guy stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, tattoo peeking from under his sleeve. He carried a package under one arm, phone in the other. No big deal. Then, Ava opened the door. The smile she gave him froze me. It wasn't polite, wasn't neighborly, it was familiar, like a scene from some earlier chapter of our life, the way she used to smile at me. They talked, too long for a quick drop-off. She leaned on the doorframe, he set the package down and didn't leave. For a full minute, they stood there, bodies angled too close. Then she stepped outside, into his space, and my stomach went cold. I could have ended the feed right there. I wish I had. Instead, I stared, trying to rationalize every pixel. Maybe she knew him. Maybe he was lost. Maybe the camera's angle was deceiving me. But cameras don't lie. People do. The next few days, I tried to act normal. I kissed her goodbye, made dinner, asked about her day. Every answer felt rehearsed. So, quietly, I adjusted the doorbell settings. Higher resolution, wider motion zone, night vision enabled. If there was a truth to be found, I wanted to see it crystal clear. By the following Tuesday, I didn't have to wait long. Another motion alert. Same hour, same van. This time, I didn't watch live. I let the camera record, then drove home early, pretending I'd forgotten my wallet. When I turned into the driveway, the van was gone. But something hung in the air, a warmth like laughter that had just been swallowed. Ava met me at the door, startled, smiling too fast. "Back already?" "Forgot my wallet," I said. Her eyes darted to the counter, where a half-finished glass of lemonade sat sweating beside 2 straws. I left without confronting her. Instead, I spent that night alone in the living room, laptop glowing, reviewing footage frame by frame. What I saw made my hands tremble. He'd been there again, Tyler West, his name on the delivery badge. He'd carried a box, handed it off, but neither moved away. Then Ava glanced toward the camera, right toward it, and for a heartbeat, I thought she saw me watching. But she smiled, like she knew exactly what she was doing. And the feed cut off. The next morning, I removed the micro SD card and slid it into an envelope marked insurance. Not the kind that pays for damages, the kind that protects you from losing your mind. Because when betrayal hits, it doesn't explode all at once. It leaks, slow and poisonous, until you're numb. For a week, I didn't say a word. I just watched. Every alert, every clip, every movement at that door. Some days it was just the mailman. Others, I'd catch glimpses. The same van idling at the curb, a flash of that tattoo, Ava's silhouette by the doorway. Nothing explicit, nothing you could take to court, just enough to carve a hollow behind my ribs. That's the thing about truth. It doesn't need to shout. It whispers until you can't hear anything else. One night, sitting in the glow of the screen, I asked myself what I'd tell my clients if they called about a faulty camera. I'd say, check your wiring. Sometimes a bad connection causes static. So that's what I did. Checked my own wiring, my heart, my trust, my patience, all of it frayed. I decided I'd confront her, but not yet. Not without proof that even she couldn't twist. The following Friday, I set up a secondary camera inside the hallway, pointed toward the front door. It looked like part of the decor, tucked between a vase and a photo from our honeymoon in Charleston. I told her I was upgrading our home system for a client demo. She nodded, distracted, phone lighting her face with a glow I used to think was love. The next afternoon, the alert came again. I didn't open it right away. I waited. I let time crawl until the sun sank and the house grew quiet. Then I played the recording. The van, the knock, her voice, the door swinging wide. And something in her tone, like a secret finally exhaling. I paused the clip before it could show more, because honestly, I didn't need to see the rest. I already knew. The hardest part wasn't believing she'd done it. It was realizing how calm I felt. Cold, methodical, like part of me had been expecting this all along. I sat there in the dark, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound. A line crossed my mind, one I'd heard years ago. The camera doesn't take sides, it just records what's there. Maybe that's why I trust cameras more than people now. I backed up every file to an encrypted drive, labeled it front door. Then I looked at the timestamp. Friday, 3:46 p.m. Almost exactly the same minute as the first alert. Same day of the week. Same lie recycled. When I finally went to bed, Ava was already asleep, or pretending to be. I lay beside her, the faint scent of unfamiliar cologne clinging to the sheets. I stared at the ceiling and whispered to myself, tomorrow. Because tomorrow was when everything would change.
The truth doesn't hit like thunder. It creeps in, quiet, certain, and impossible to unhear. That line looped through my head all night. By sunrise, I'd already decided what came next. Ava slept on her side, hair fanned across the pillow, face calm as if nothing had fractured between us. I watched her breathe and wondered how many mornings she'd woken up like this, next to me but living somewhere else entirely. When she left for work, I made coffee, black and bitter, then opened my laptop. Footage folder, front door. Files stacked by date, each a piece of a puzzle that didn't need solving anymore. Still, I watched every second. I memorized the way her body leaned into the frame, the way his shadow filled our porch. I wanted to understand, not forgive, just understand. By mid-morning, my pulse was steady. I wasn't going to scream, smash, or beg. That's not my style. I build systems. I collect data. And now, I'd build the truth. First, I copied the clips to a hidden cloud drive. Then, I printed still frames. Her hand brushing his arm, her eyes looking past the camera. Not evidence for a courtroom, evidence for reality. Because when people lie, they rewrite the past. I wanted ink on paper that said otherwise. Around noon, I called Megan Holt, my coworker. She answered with her usual dry humor. Logan, you sound like someone who's about to do something incredibly rational or incredibly stupid. Maybe both, I said. I need your help with a demo system, off book. She didn't ask questions. Megan had seen enough of life's messes to know when to hold her tongue. By evening, the plan was set. A silent update to our smart home hub. Something that would broadcast the doorbell feed to every screen in the house at my command. No hacking, no theatrics, just code and timing. If Ava wanted to live a double life in my home, I'd make her face both versions of it at once. That night, she came home late, said traffic was bad. I nodded, pretending to scroll through emails. Her perfume hit me, sweet, expensive, a brand I hadn't bought her. She kissed my cheek, casual, practiced. I'm exhausted, she murmured. Long day? I asked. The worst, she said, and walked upstairs. The lie slid off her tongue so easily, I almost admired it. Almost. I waited until her footsteps faded, then triggered the update. Every screen blinked once. TV, tablet, even the kitchen display. Then I deleted the remote app from my phone. No turning back. Saturday came. Sunlight poured through the blinds like nothing had changed. Ava cooked breakfast, humming softly. We talked about bills, about her sister's baby shower, about everything except the thing. At 3:30 p.m., she said she'd be in the garden. I poured another coffee, pretending to read. At 3:42 p.m., the motion alert chimed. My finger hovered over the control key. One press, and every screen in the house would mirror that feed. The doorbell view filled the living room TV, sound muted, just video. Ava at the door, Tyler stepping up the porch. I heard her gasp from outside when the chime echoed through the speakers. She turned, saw the living room window glowing. Then she froze, because there she was, 20 feet away, staring at herself on screen. Tyler backed off, confused. I stepped outside, mug still in hand. Package for me? I asked. He looked between us, realization dawning, color draining. Yeah, just a delivery, he muttered. Ava whispered his name like a warning. I didn't yell, didn't move closer. I just looked at her, calm as the lens that had watched it all. You always said cameras invade privacy, I said. Turns out they protect it. No shouting, no scenes, just silence heavy enough to crush. Tyler mumbled something about his route and hurried to the van. Ava stood there, arms crossed, shaking her head. Logan, this isn't what it looks like. I almost laughed. Ava, it's exactly what it looks like. The camera doesn't need context. She tried to reach for me. I stepped back. For the first time, she saw what distance really meant. Inside, the video looped again on every screen. I let it play once more before shutting the system down. Then I handed her an envelope, the still frames, printed and time-stamped. I wanted to make sure you had a copy, I said. Her mouth opened, closed, no words. She followed me as I packed an overnight bag. Where are you going? Somewhere the Wi-Fi doesn't remember us, I said. I stayed with Megan that night. Spare couch, quiet apartment. She didn't pry, just left a blanket and a note on the coffee table. You did what you had to do. Still, I barely slept. Not from regret, from adrenaline. Because revenge isn't about destruction, it's about control. And I finally had mine back. Sunday morning, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Voicemail. A male voice, angry, low. Stay away from her. Tyler. So that's how he wanted to play. I saved the message, forwarded it to myself, and deleted the caller ID from my contacts. Not fear, preparation. If the situation spun out, I'd have a trail. By afternoon, Ava texted, "We need to talk, please." I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Then I typed back one line, "Meet me at the house, 6 p.m." When I pulled up that evening, the sun was sliding behind the trees, turning the sky copper and red. She was already there, sitting on the porch steps. No makeup, hair pulled back, eyes rimmed with fatigue. For a second, she looked like the woman I'd married, the one who built Sunday mornings and road trip playlists with me. Then I remembered the footage. Why? I asked. It was the only word I had left. She looked down. I don't know. I felt invisible. You were always working, always fixing things. I guess I wanted to feel noticed. I let the silence hang. So you let someone else ring the door, I said finally. Tears welled, but I didn't move closer. You can forgive mistakes. Betrayal, you can only outgrow. I told her I'd file for separation, that the footage was backed up, that I wouldn't destroy her, but I also wouldn't lie for her. She nodded slowly. Maybe relief, maybe shame. Either way, it was done. That night, I drove to a cheap motel off Highway 21. I sat outside, listening to the buzz of neon and crickets. For the first time in months, no alerts, no pings, no blinking lights, just quiet. I realized how peaceful it felt to not be watching or being watched. Still, I knew this wasn't the end, because secrets like ours don't fade, they echo. And somewhere in that echo, there was still one last thing I needed to do.
You ever have that one night when silence feels louder than thunder? That's how my house sounded after everything went down. The laughter, the warmth, the little things that made it home, gone. Just echoes of betrayal bouncing off the walls. I sat on the couch, staring at that same doorbell camera footage that started it all. My fingers hovered over the delete button. I thought maybe if I erased it, I could erase everything that came after. But you can't delete pain. You can only live through it. The next morning, I packed a few things and drove to the lake. That's where I usually went when I needed to think, when life got too heavy. The water was calm, sunlight bouncing on it like tiny mirrors. I thought about Emily, about how we got here, about how trust can vanish overnight, like smoke in the wind. For days, I didn't call her, didn't check my phone. Then one morning, I woke up to a text. "We need to talk, please." I stared at it for a long time. My heart said no, but my curiosity said go. So I went. When I pulled up to the house, she was already waiting outside. No makeup, no fake smile, just Emily, the woman I used to know, standing in the ruins of what we built. She started talking before I even reached the door. "Logan, I made a mistake, a huge one. I don't know what I was thinking. It just happened." I wanted to scream, to ask her how you just accidentally betray someone who gave you everything. But all I said was, "It didn't just happen, Emily. You made choices. Every text, every meeting, every lie. You chose that." Tears rolled down her face, but I didn't move. I'd already cried enough for both of us. She said the thing cheaters always say. It didn't mean anything. And I gave her the answer that every betrayed person eventually learns. Then why does it feel like it meant everything to me? We stood there for what felt like forever. The wind blew, the door creaked, and that stupid doorbell camera sat there, silent witness to everything that went wrong. That's when I realized the camera didn't destroy my marriage. We did. The camera just told the truth. I left the house that day knowing it was over. No screaming, no revenge, no dramatic ending, just silence. But I wasn't done, not yet. 2 weeks later, I listed the house for sale. The for sale sign went up right next to that same doorbell camera. Funny, right? The same device that exposed lies was now guarding an empty home. I moved into a small apartment downtown. Nothing fancy, just peace and quiet. I got back to work, hit the gym again, started reading, stuff I hadn't done in years. Healing wasn't fast, it wasn't clean, but it was real. Then one night, I got a notification on my phone. Doorbell motion detected. For a second, my chest tightened. Old memories hit hard. But when I opened the app, it wasn't Emily. It wasn't anyone I knew. Just a young couple looking at the house, smiling, planning a new life there. And it hit me. That place wasn't my story anymore. It was theirs now. Mine had ended. But here's the twist. Revenge didn't come the way I expected. It came through silence, through success, through moving on. Because the real revenge isn't destroying someone. It's rebuilding yourself in a way they can't even recognize anymore. Months passed. I started running again, lost weight, got promoted at work, even started a small podcast helping people deal with betrayal and trust issues. And guess what? It grew faster than I imagined. People connected with my story, with the pain, with the honesty. The first episode I ever posted, it started with the same words I'll end this story with. This is Logan, and this is the story of how my doorbell camera didn't just catch a secret. It caught the moment I took my life back. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. And if you've ever been betrayed, remember this: your peace is the loudest revenge. Like, share, and comment below if you've ever had to rebuild yourself from broken trust. And don't forget to subscribe, because every story we tell here reminds someone they're not alone.